Hey guys, Mr. George Dreamers here with another Onslaught Ready build. Today we're looking at Ultimate Gley with the newly reworked weapon ERASER. With this combination, you will be able to public queue with Gley, do decent damage, have survivability, and get those clears with one of everybody's favorite descendants in the game. If you find anything today useful, if you learn anything or have any questions, comment down below. Consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video to help support channel growth. Anyways, let's get into it. Alright, first we're going to look at the Transcendent mod, Predator Instinct. If you don't know what this does to Gley, it changes her 1 to where it does no longer has an HP drain effect, which is pretty nice to have. The longer you fire, you're going to be getting more buffs for your firearm damage. As you see here, it says stage 1, you get 25%, stage 2, you get 42%. You also get some penetration, incoming recovery decrease, which is bad, and you do take a little bit more damage while in the frenzied state, but we're going to be in the frenzied state the entire time. Alright, looking at the Ancestor mod, we are going to be using Thirster's Resolution with max HP above all else, and then skill duration is what you want. Skill power does not matter to this build. Cooldown is, kind of nice to have, but it's not necessary. The more duration you have, the more firearm damage you're going to be doing, because you're going to be able to maintain your 3 longer. For the trigger mod, I went with Kuiper Hollow Points because this is not a skill build. You want firearm damage. This was the best in the slot, especially with the ERASER, because it has a lot of weak point damage. If you're not sure how this works, the more you shoot an enemy that's not a weak point, you gain stacks up to 30. Each stack increases weak point damage, which is really good for the ERASER. So if you're missing your shots, this returns the shots. The negative to this is for each stack you do lose some max HP, which will reduce your damage, but it's still overall better to have this than not. And we'll get into this in a minute. We are also running Weak Point Analyst with Kuiper Hollow Points. This gives you weak point damage and HP recovery, which will work well with our HP collector. Now, for the mods themselves, you are going to want a lot of HP. The goal is 35,000 HP. So to help achieve that, we're going to run max HP and stim accelerant. And again, you want HP on your Ancestor mod. We're also going to run time disruption. This is a skill cooldown mod that gives you more HP. We do want the skill cooldown, but the HP is the really big win for running this. You're also going to want skill extension for skill duration and maximize duration for skill duration. You don't need range on this build, you need duration. For some more damage, we're going to run shot focus. This does reduce skill power modifier, which we do not care about, and gives you a little extra firearm attack. And then again, weak point analyst is going to give us some more damage. Alright, before we continue to the demonstration, I want to show you the bread and butter of Gley's build is her third ability, Increased Sensory. And if you're unfamiliar with Gley altogether, the important thing that you're trying to shoot for here is her maximized lethality. That time to trigger is her duration. You want that larger than her cooldown. You want the duration as large as possible, but if your cooldown is longer than the duration, the build won't work. So you got to do whatever you got to do to make that overlap happen. So in my demonstration, I have 21.8 seconds on the duration, which is that time to trigger. And then I have 21.1 seconds on the cooldown. So because of that, the build works. If it were the other way around, there would be some overlap where you're kind of sitting there with not much that you can do. Something else that's really important to go over, and this is why we want that 35,000 HP, is she has a damage multiplier based off your max HP with a max damage increase of 210%. Something unique, and I will go over again later when we talk about Onslaught itself, is this damage increase counts as skill damage, but it does not get affected by skill power at all. So even though it's skill damage, things that trigger off of skill damage still happen, but you don't get any kind of power increase based off of your skill power, if that makes sense. For our last mod that we're going to run, HP Collector. This is optional. The purpose of this is you kind of move sluggish when you're firing the weapon we're going to be firing, and getting kills, this is going to give you some of your max HP back, like it's going to be health recovery every 2 seconds. And with Weak Point Analyst, you're going to be getting some HP recovery back if you have stacks. So these two things together help keep you alive, and you're pretty tanky with 35,000 health. With this combo, I think fits very well in Onslaught. Here's a demonstration of what everything together looks like. You want to make sure you're in your frenzy state, which you'll know when her hair is white like that. Then you activate your third ability, and then you just aim and shoot. I'm not going to ADS so you can see my fire rate. It'll eventually turn into a blur. And you just shoot indefinitely because you're not consuming ammo with her third ability. It's honestly a really satisfying feeling shooting air like this. And then you just keep chaining it. And this is how we're going to be doing our damage. Now for the weapon itself, the eraser. For this weapon, the cores that you want are fire rate, toxic attack, fire rate, and then recoil. Recoil is optional, but hitting weak points with that recoil reduction is way easier. And then for your readjustments, you want firearm crit damage, firearm crit rate, toxic attack, and firearm attack. For the mods themselves, we are running Veil Analyzer in Onslaught because you need a way to efficiently pop the blue shields, and this also helps with the yellow shields because it's extra damage to those. Helps out the team. It's very nice. We're going to run Sharp Precision Shot. If you're not sure how this works, it does take away some fire rate, but the longer you fire, your recoil is going to go down, your fire rate is going to go up, and your firearm attack will go up to 10 stacks. But once this is rolling, which is only I think it takes 5 seconds to get it fully running, and your duration is 20 seconds. So you're going to be having this for about 15 seconds at max stacks, which is super important, super nice to have. Some other things for damage, we have toxic enhancement, concentration priority for crit damage, better insight for some crit rate, fire rate up for even more fire rate, better concentration for crit damage. We do have weak point damage. This is without any recoil negative, so this is really nice to have. And then action and reaction for that little bit of firearm attack. You do get a little bit of recoil, but again, with the recoil reduction on our cores, this helps with that. Something else I want to throw out there is if you want to use this without Veil Analyzer, have aiming is phenomenal in this spot. You're just not going to be able to help with the bubbles, and in public queue, I can't recommend enough having Veil Analyzer on this weapon. All right, to go into a bit more detail on the eraser and its abilities. If you look at its base stats, it has a 80% base crit rate and a 130% base critical hit damage. There are some options increasing this right now. Ignore that, just look at the base. And then if you come down here, its base weak point damage is 355%. This is actually huge because this and this kind of like multiply off of each other. So these two things together are amazing. And if we look at the unique ability, it uses a thing called Analyze, which converts it to Degrade at max stats, and Degrade does a AoE explosion that causes corrosion that reduces toxic weapon resistance, which is really nice because the eraser is a toxic weapon. And max stats, by the way, is 10, and it only takes 2 shots to do that. And as firing as fast as we are, it's going to be pretty rapid. Here's a quick demonstration of that. You kind of seen it in the skill segment, but if you see here, 2 shots, get that big poof, and then just look at it doing continuous damage. And then if you go non-stop, you can see how it gets out of hand. Now for the reactor, I want to emphasize a point here. I am using a toxic reactor on Gley. Skill power does not matter, so the shape of your reactor and the element does not matter. What you care about are the substats: skill cooldown, skill duration, 2 most important things you can have on a reactor for this build. So that is what you want. Ideally, you would want this to be non-attribute singular for Gley, but in this build specifically, skill power does not matter, so as long as you have a skill cooldown and a skill duration, this works on this build specifically. Now for your component set, I actually ran 2-piece ballistic and then 2-piece shell crusher. Using this combination, you're gonna get the most HP out of it. You have 1, 2, 3 HP parts and then 1 max shield, which is kind of sad. The sub roles that you care about is on your auxiliary power, you want max HP. The second one does not matter. I don't have it because I just didn't go get it. You want defense on your memory, and then you want max HP cores and max defense cores all the way down so that you are maintaining that 35,000 HP. If you're not sure what these two sets do as a two-piece, the two-piece ballistic gives you weak point damage, even though it's a little bit. The eraser, which is the weapon we're about to go over, has a lot of weak point damage bonus, so this adds up to a lot more than just 5%. And then the shell crusher memory gives you fire rate increase of 5%, which is a benefit to get your build running, like your firearm damage rolling a bit faster. All right, for our arcade board, you definitely want this max HP and this weak point damage. From here, you want to climb all the way up. You want to grab this crit rate and this weapon crit damage. You're going to go to the left. You're going to grab this firearm attack and this firearm attack. And then we're going to go all the way to the right, passing this firearm attack. So don't go to top tree, go this tree. Then you do get some skill crit rate. This is a waste. You do get some skill power modifier. This is a waste. But the purpose is to get defense neutralization. If you don't know how this works, if you land a skill attack on an enemy with max HP, so shielded enemies will trigger over and over again until their shields are gone, you reduce their defense by 50% as well as all other resistances, except for non-attribute. Where this works is her 3 ability does count as a skill attack, even though it's not doing skill power damage, and it's reducing enemies' defense by 50%. I think this is huge. I've done some damage testing with different trees. I have yet to beat this mutant cell on Gley, and because of all the other resistance reductions, you're helping your team out. The firearm does an AoE blast on top of that, so this just spreads very nicely. This is by far the coolest thing that you can do with Ultimate Gley with your arcade tree. Alright, inversion reinforcement. We went with some real simple stuff here. So you have adrenaline surge, which on skill hit gives you movement speed. Your 3 counts as a skill hit, so you're gonna have movement speed increases, which helps with aiming this weapon. You got precision shot on firearm critical hit. You get critical hit damage up to 5 stacks. You're gonna be doing a lot of firearm crits. That's what the eraser revolves around, that and weak point damage. From here, you go all the way down to when defeating an enemy, it grants combat adaptation. This gives you incoming damage decrease up to 15 stacks. Also super important because you kind of move slow like a tank or a sentry turret. Some quick notes for actually using this in Onslaught. You kind of want to stay back and shoot, even using the barriers as a bit of defense. You have decent range with this weapon. You're going to be shooting tyrants and enemies from a decent distance. In the second area, I like using it to pop the shields and then moving on to other targets if my team's really clapping. When it comes to card selection, you do not want anything that's skill power. You want anything that's firearm based. The only thing skill wise that you do want is anything that procs off of. So if you see like on skill hit, there's a chance of increasing your outgoing damage by 900%. That does work. Balanced growth is also phenomenal because it counts as skill hits. It's going to increase your firearm damage the entire time. Outgoing damage modifier is also super huge. What I don't recommend is the picking up orbs card for firearm damage, because you're not really ever going to be picking up orbs because you can't pick up MP orbs, and your HP is going to be full for the most part, and you're moving kind of slow. So I was never able to use that card and actually get the benefit out of it, so it's kind of a waste. So something I want to talk about too is this build is definitely more for public queue. It's a bit slower. It's power, like it hits hard. It has good ad clear. It's got good damage. I think my average that when I was testing was somewhere around 20 billion, depending on how my cards went. And public queue, it works great. In private matches with like a sweaty team, like let's say you and your friends are all just super sweats, you're going to be lacking behind if everybody's locked in. This is very much for public queue to help you guys get through clears safely. I do public queue all the time for both entertainment and just for like testing. This has become my go-to public queue build just because it's safe, it hits hard, and you're contributing. You're not really overflowing damage, so I think it's a bit more accurate on your total damage overall, and it's fun. So I do think this is probably like the route to go. All that being said, if you guys have any questions or comments or ideas, please feel free to comment them below. If you found anything useful or enjoyed the video, consider liking it and subscribing to the channel to help support channel growth. With that being said, that is all I have today, so hopefully I will see you guys in the next one.